Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to the Pinnacle's Producers Podcast. I have a great conversation for you today with Tyler Genius. He's been on the podcast before, but not when it was in video form. He's worked with Lil Skies, Landon Cube, Vanilla Ice, if you can believe that or not, Chris Patrick, Kodak Black, and many more. He's multi-platinum, and he is a part of the Viral Collective, which we get into a little bit more. They're an up-and-coming collective full of great people within it, and I'm really excited to see what they'll bring for 2022. So without further ado, we'll get into the conversation. Like, subscribe, and share with anybody you think would find this informative. Thank you. How would you introduce yourself to someone? If they didn't really know you, but they knew they could kind of work with you, what would you introduce yourself with?
Well, I'm a philanthropist, you know what I'm saying? I'm an environmentalist. I'm neither of those things. I don't know how I would probably just introduce myself as a producer, engineer still. The main things that I've always done haven't changed, but I have started dabbling into a lot of other things. So yeah, if I were to introduce myself, it would probably stick to being a producer engineer, and then the other things I do are just like hobbies, side passions, so I can stay sane.
Right. No, that makes total sense. Yeah, man. So I'll just ask you, like, there's so much I want to ask, really, and there's like a lot I want to go into because it's been a while, and a lot's happened since we last spoke.
Yeah.
First, I think I'll just start with Viral.
Okay.
Because I don't think I've really talked about it in any podcast yet, and you guys are doing a lot, man. A lot of your achievements and everything going on with the group, super cool. So I'll just get you started on that. Like, just tell us about Viral, what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's our collective that, involves me, Nick, Jake, A-Dot, Macro, Harvey. There's so many people, tons of people in the group right now, and really our focus is making samples and loops. And then, setting that out and hoping for placements and collaborating with other people. So, Viral really started out as a group of strangers from Twitter that decided to get an Airbnb one day. And then ideas started flowing, and Jake, and A-Dot had kind of, conjured up this phrase viral that was always said. From there, like, what started out as a joke and just a bunch of drunk people in an Airbnb, like, formed into what is now a legitimate company, with legitimate talented people who are working every day full time on music. I want to say that was like 2 years ago that we started that. And there isn't many things in my life that have stayed as consistent as Viral has, which is a crazy thing to think about, but like starting from strangers on Twitter to literally like a family at this point, massive, and all of it revolves around music. Yeah, there's so much to it too. Like even you hearing you say that it's been the most consistent or one of the most consistent parts of your life in terms of music, like that's so big. I talk about it all the time. I know a lot of people talk about it, but consistency is really everything. And so even to see you guys being consistent, and it's one thing to do it as one person, but to do it as a group is actually harder. Oh, like, yeah.
I mean, in a sense, it's, you guys can motivate each other and hold yourselves accountable, but to actually work as a group and keep pushing forward and forward and forward and like staying consistent, that's very impressive.
But it is. But I mean, also, like, when you think of the word family, like, it's not a reality TV show, or, well, I guess that would make more sense, actually. It's not some perfect family. Like, family comes with ups and downs. Like, we work like a family in the good and the bad. Like, we have really, really good months and really good days, and then we have days where we're bickering and we're arguing and this, that, and the other. But like at the end, like, to me, that just makes us stronger. And I know that sounds kind of cringy, but it's just like any family, like, people are going to argue and have disagreements and things like that. And like, to me, it's more impressive that we've been able to do that and still have a chemistry legitimately like a family. the next day we're good, or an hour after an argument, like we're still good. And just like, I don't know, to me that's super important. So it's not always butterflies and rainbows in viral, but yeah.
Yeah, see, it's interesting you say that. I would agree to an extent. Like, obviously, I'm not in any sort of collective or group right now, but I work with artists. I've started to work a lot with artists this past year, and actually develop them in person, and that's been really insightful. But one of the things that I always stand by, that I just stand by in general as a person, is like honesty, and I'll always be honest as much as I can, like 99% of the time, to the people around me, and sometimes. And usually that means there's going to be some issues at some point in the collaborative process. But at the end of it, the best product usually ends up coming out, or the best solution, or whatever it is. Like, I could be wrong, but I'm always going to be honest. If that other person can give me the same respect, we'll come out of the studio or whatever it is we're making with something better than if, we just didn't do that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, 100%. I mean, shoot, we're the group, we're all assholes in the group. Respectfully though, everyone, like we do maintain a foundation of honesty with everything that we do. If we feel like someone's in the wrong, then someone's going to speak up and say something. And if our opinion or what we perceive to be wrong is wrong, like it's super transparent, and that's also a key in a team, like transparency and being able to take an opinion and be okay with it, whether it's criticism or someone's critiquing you, or someone's checking you on something that maybe you shouldn't be doing, or you're acting a fool. Like you'll get, someone's gonna say something, and like it's never out of spite or out of any type of negative feelings. It's literally just like we care enough about each other to be able to keep each other accountable. And I don't know, like, again, I think that comes down to, there are very few things in my life that are consistent in music, and being able to have something that's so transparent and like foundational in my life is huge. It's super important.
Yeah. So outside of viral too, there's some of the stuff, I'll come back to viral, I'm sure, but some of the stuff you've been doing, and you got to remind me of the name of this, but you were in a studio at one point with a bunch of artists, and it seemed like, I don't remember where it was. Was it in Florida somewhere? Is that where it was? Or did you travel to a studio?
Nah, so that was in Jersey. And my homie Sway set it up and kind of hatched the idea. And so he had this idea months before it happened. And it, again, talking about like the few things that I've experienced in my life, this is one experience that was really awesome to see, because it's hard to find someone that has an idea and then fully executes it to its completion. And that's exactly what happened. So the studio was in Jersey. Him and his buddy out in New York put together this event, invited a bunch of people from Twitter, and a bunch of really, really talented artists. And yeah, we all went out for a week, or I think 4 days or something like that. And excuse the voice crack. And yeah, we made music, man. It was like a writing retreat for artists and for people that had like never met each other. And that was a family too. Like by the end of it, we were all hugging and sad to go. And it was like Christian camp back when I was, like 14 or something. I was like,
right.
Really build something there. So yeah, that was, it was, it's this studio in this mansion in the middle of the woods in New Jersey. Yeah.
Fire.
Yeah. Super, super cool vibe.
Tell me about Chris Patrick.
Chris Patrick. I love that man. Yeah. So I've been working with Chris Patrick for a while, and I feel like I'm repeating myself, but I met him on Twitter. So if anyone isn't picking up on the pattern here, Twitter is like a gem. Like, especially as a music producer or any type of creative, you can build a career off Twitter 100%. But yeah, no, we met on Twitter, and just like any other producer would, I just sent him beats, and he was really liking what I had sent first. And so we got a record on his first album called Dreams, which released as a single. And That was, I believe that was last year. And yeah, we've just been working ever since, and not much has changed. It's just been consistently sending him music, having conversations with him, going back and forth on all of it. And then I finally met him for the first time this year in LA at another writing camp out here, which was really, really awesome. We cut a few records there too. So yeah, that man is talented, and what him and his team are doing is unprecedented. Like it is, if as a new artist or producer coming into the scene, if you're looking for any type of motivation or any type of example of what to do, Crossroads and what they're doing is like the perfect blueprint to making it, essentially.
Okay. What is Crossroads?
So Crossroads is their collective. That's Niall, Chris Patrick, Dende's in there now. I think Hitchcock is in there, and there's a few other people that I'm not remembering their names, but
okay, cool. And when you say writing camp, what does that entail? Does every writing camp look different, or do they kind of have similar processes that go into each one?
Yeah, I think they're all different. The one that I went to in Jersey was a lot more intimate, I would say. Like, I think it's a pretty accurate word. It was, I can't remember, 20 people in one house. And we did not leave that house. It was like a compound. Like, food is brought to us. We had everything we needed was at the house. And so it was literally 4 days in an enclosed space with 20 people. And we anytime you do that, you're going to get to know the people that you're with. So the intimacy between the music that was being made and the relationships that were being made was far different from what I had experienced at my LA writing camp. Not that it was better or worse. The one in LA was it was more come and go. It was very open, still in a house, but there wasn't like a blueprint of like, this is what we're doing. This is how long we're staying here. Let's make music. You know, it was, I believe it went on for about a month, the one in LA here, and called The Herd. That's what it's called. And so, yeah, it was a lot of come and go. It was like, if you can make it that day, you know, come through. If there's artists, like if you're making beats and an artist comes into the room, cool. Like, let's make a record, you know, let's chop it up and then move on to the next one. So they're definitely different in their own way, but I think each one has its own strengths, to be honest.
Cool. No, that is a really interesting insight. I gotta ask you this, man. How does it feel to be the face of viral?
It's stressful. It is. Yeah. It's a lot of weight on my shoulders, but you know what? Like, I'm good. It keeps me motivated, keeps me fit.
Yeah.
You know, we're not going to talk about the fact that I've gained 40 pounds in the month that I've been here. Not going to talk about it.
Right.
You know,
right.
So physique is top tier. My hunchback is gone. You know, no one would know. So yeah, I'm doing great, man. It's good.
Dude, it's funny that you say that, because I was actually going to ask you about health. And like, I saw that you,
bro,
I saw that you and Nick went, you know, had a slight discussion on Twitter about health. Like, I think he said something about how much you lifted and something along those lines.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it kind of I realized, like, it was just cool to me to think that, oh, like, you guys are in LA, you're working hard, but the idea that you guys are still trying to keep your health in check with, not that I mean, it is kind of unusual. Some people will go there and it's so much work, especially as a music producer. Anything that requires like an intense amount of work in front of a computer, usually people's health starts to slide a little bit.
100%, man. I mean, I don't think people understand like the mental capacity you need to like be able to do it all day, every day, all year, full time. It really does tax on you mentally, and when that happens, you lose motivation to go do other things, which includes keeping your health up and you know, all that. And I'm not, trust me, like what you saw on Twitter was like a small week window where I moved here and I was like, I'm gonna get in the gym. I'm gonna stay active. You know, I'm gonna go to the gym with Nick, blah, blah, blah. And I did for a week. And then I was like, yo, no, never again. And so when he hit me up one day and it was like, I don't know, sometime it was like a weekend or something. And I was like, yeah, I can't go today. Like, I'm going to focus on this because I need to get this done. And sure enough, that was when everything like stopped. I stopped going to the gym. And now I'm in that place where I'm staring at my computer, working. And then I'm too tired to go exercise. So, and I'm being transparent with this because like it's a challenge regardless of what happens. Nick, and I always tell Nick this, he's a computer, man. Like that dude has everything. As soon as he wakes up, the whole day is an algorithm, and he's got it all planned out, and he does a really good job of keeping it consistent, like of keeping his schedule exactly how it needs to be. And that's not a bad thing at all.
Right.
You know, I'm saying that kind of in a general sense. So like that alone is motivating for me. Like not enough for me to keep going to the gym, but it is motivating to see that like he's got the discipline to be able to say, okay, I'm going to make this amount of music, you know, in the evening, but I'm going to go to the gym first and keep the schedule going. And there is differences. I mean, I've talked to him about it, like on a personal level, like he feels better. He's more active. He can feel himself. Like it even helps like with his relationship with music, you know? So there's a lot of benefits to it. And in my mind, I'd like to make it happen. But in all honesty, you really do have to find what works best for you. Right now, he's able to do what he's doing and keep the gym consistent. And I'd like to get there. But for me, like, and we talked about this, I think, in the last podcast, like I have a schedule where like, okay, I'm going to go outside in the morning, drink my coffee, spend time outside, come back in, do music, and then move from there. And, you know, so when it comes to exercising, like physical exercise, maybe I don't go to the gym every day, but I'm doing a minute plank or 2-minute planks, which I just started doing the other day. That takes no time out of my day. It works all my muscles, and it's something that at least make me feel like to get my body working and moving. That's not just like, you know, fucking all day, you know. So
yeah, that's something I tell people too, is like, just even if you can do something for 10 minutes, even 1 minute, 2 minutes, like depending on the exercise, like at least trying something is better than nothing. And then sometimes you'll find, at least with me, like if I take time for like 5 minutes, because I bought a weight set for at home a while ago, and it's way better than, or not way better, but it really helps with it. Like if you don't have the motivation to go to the gym, it helps just having it right here. And then you can, you know, start like a quick set of something, and then you realize, oh shit, you know, I should do more. Like I kind of want to do more, and then you just keep going.
Absolutely. You know? But I think there's an up and down to it. Again, it comes down to like the person, right? Like, if you have weights at your house, and so like the initial thought is like they're right there. I can walk out of my room and start lifting, and I'll be good to go. But then all of a sudden, it's like they're in your house, and then you lose motivation, and sometimes it can be a negative thing to have all of the things in your life in one place, if that makes sense.
100%.
But
no, it's very true.
But again, I think it comes down to the person. Like for you, for example, like you might have been able to condition yourself to get to a place where it's like, okay, boom, I'm going to lift weights at this time. I don't need to go outside. I don't need to have a monthly subscription to the gym or whatever. Like I can just do it here, and it's consistent for you. So yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat with you. I think if we had that, I would be able to incorporate that way easier than what's happening right now.
Yeah. Well, you make a good point about having everything around you in the same space is actually not always a great thing for some people, and that's very true. Like one of the biggest challenges I've had throughout so far in life, really, when I have essentially my computer, I produce music on it.
Right.
I have the same desk space I usually do when I was in school for a bit. I'm kind of back and forth right now, but I'd do that work here as well, and then I'd relax here as well. I'm doing all these things in the same work area, and that's not a great. If I could have it any other way, anytime I could set it up a different way, I did.
Right.
Because it's just not ideal. You just get distracted a lot easier. It gets, you know, dull. It's nice to have different environments because you can get your mind to like in that mind space.
Yep.
In that headspace rather.
Yep.
For the thing that you're doing. Do you think this year you've produced more like than other years? What do you think?
No, actually.
Okay.
Well, no, I take that back. It's been a long year. I have produced more this year than I did last year. That is true. I have produced more this year than I did last year. I think the thing that is different is the way that I've done it. You know, like last year I was in my room 90% of the time when it came to making beats. Whereas this year it's been a lot of like, I've done a lot this year in terms of moving around. At one point for like 6 months of my life, I was actually only engineering, with production kind of as like a super side gig. Where now that's completely flipped. You know, I'm producing more than I ever have and engineering more as a side gig. But a lot of my production this year has been traveling. You know, if we're ignoring the pandemic, it's been a lot of traveling. You know, with the Sanctuary sessions coming out here to visit for the other writing camp. When I'm in Florida, I didn't have my own studio really, so I would always drive out to someone else's place to go produce. So I think I produced more this year. The amount of placements that I've gotten this year, I think, is less than what I had last year. But the year's not over yet. So there are things in the works right now. But I don't know. This year has been super dynamic, I would say. I've done a lot with my life, and a lot of massive changes have happened. So it's kind of been like I can produce when I can. And then if I'm not doing that, then I'm traveling and spending 4 days just producing for, 72 hours plus, or whatever 4 days is.
Okay, fair. I realize now that this is kind of back and forth. Like, this podcast is taking a bunch of turns at once, which is actually totally cool with me, because I'm just asking the questions I want to know the answers to. So it's pretty selfish, but I'm with it.
Hopefully I'm answering them correctly.
You are. No, you are, man.
Good.
Yeah, that's why I'm kind of like rapid fire, like, I'm going through them. But
yeah.
Here's more of a specific question, and it is really, I am curious. So well, I shouldn't say last spoke, but we had a point where I learned like mixing from you quickly. I think we had like an hour consultation or something like that. And it did give me a ton of insight, because that was when I was starting to learn how to mix vocals, because I really had no idea.
Right.
And you gave me a lot of really good insight. I told Solo Riches the same thing, because I also spoke to him about the same thing. And since then, I've come a really long way with mixing. I'm really, really happy with how I'm able to mix vocals now.
That's fire. Yeah.
But the one thing, thank you, bro. Yeah. But the one thing I gotta ask is, when you're mixing vocals because a lot of the people I've mixed vocals for, they're singers, or they have a more melodic kind of. I could just say singers. I'll say singers. Or even if they're rapping, it's more melodic and slow. But if you're mixing a song with someone who's got like a quicker delivery, and it's more lyrical rap, and they're not really using like a ton of auto-tune,
right,
and it's really just quick, is there any sort of like, what kind of approach do you take to that? Is it a more basic approach to mixing, or is there anything that you have that you could tell me?
Yeah. So in terms of, I'll kind of just run down my vocal chain for people who are rapping more, and then people who are singing more. Like, I have quite a few artists that I work with where the song is just them, but they're switching. The chorus is really, really melodic, and their verses are just straight rap.
Right.
And there definitely has to be a switch up in your vocal processing. Obviously, you're not gonna 100% auto tune their rap, and now you have T-Pain kind of thing that doesn't really sound like T-Pain. Like, so with me, when it comes to the rapping portion of everything, I'll just take off the auto tune completely. I'll just disable it.
Right.
I think it takes away from the rawness of the vocal. When you have auto-tune on rap, like, right, their intonations and like tonality of what they're doing, maybe that's the same word, of what they're delivering to you, it's all intentional. And I think auto-tune takes away from that. So when it comes to mixing that, I'll disable auto-tune. And then my biggest thing with rap vocals is making sure that they bite and they're more aggressive. And so with that, yeah, it really does come down to just having simplifying everything, as opposed to your melodic vocal mixes. So it'll be a EQ, 2 compressors, and then another EQ with the de-esser. And then everything that's bus to that is like a doubler, a spreader, and like spring delay and a really short, or sorry, spring reverb and a really short delay.
Right.
And then I'll throw a decapitator on there or some type of saturation plugin that just gives it that grit that kind of sits on top of the vocal.
Okay. I got you.
So,
and are you putting two compressors right one after another? Is that what you were saying? Or
you can. I have before.
Okay.
I don't do that right now, but like there is certainly a time and place for that where
understood.
Where like the first, so for me, like the first compressor is going to be like your general compressor, and usually I'll use an opto. So like the LA2A is a great first compressor to me. Like it's got two knobs, and you set your gain, set your gain reduction, and then for me, like I'll try to get it between -5 and -3, which is just like a base layer for compression. And then the compressor after that is really there for all the transients. So the second compressor is there to take care of all the like the tiny details in the vocal that the other compressor usually wouldn't get. And when you pair them together,
right,
you get a really detailed, punchy vocal, like every time.
Got you. All right, man. Thank you. I'll keep that in mind, and I'm sure it'll help a lot of people too.
Yeah, don't forget that. That's some gems right there.
Right there, man. Thank you. Let's talk about relationships for a second, because you talked about Twitter and how you can definitely build your career off that if you use it right. I agree. But obviously there's more to it than that. You also have to know how to build relationships and how to talk to people, all that. If someone's looking to build relationships in their field, let's just say, you can specify it to music, you don't have to. What are some of the tips or guidance you would give them?
So when it comes to building relationships, I think there's a couple things to kind of take note on here. One is, and this is a super obvious kind of tip here, but like just be genuine as you possibly can be. Like be yourself, because I think as producers, we've evolved very, very well to know within the first 3 minutes of meeting somebody whether they're there for their own personal gain, or if they're there to actually add value to you, in return. And obviously, like you have to know everyone is in it for their personal gain. Obviously, that's just kind of what it is. Like we're all doing this to make money, to be successful, and to make music. So like there's that, but there is a line in which like people know that, and so you don't need to emphasize that and like exacerbate that when you're trying to meet new people. When you meet somebody, you need to be as humble. I don't care if you're Rihanna's full-time producer. Like you have to be humble with everything you do, because you don't know who you're going to meet, one, and two, the more relationships that you can keep and contain and maintain, the better, just in life. Who knows 5 years down the road when you meet, I don't know, a lot of people, like we'll say this, a lot of people base people's reputation off of their following, right? And if there's one thing I've learned this year, it's that's just so irrelevant, it doesn't even matter. There are people who are wildly successful and they have 200 followers on Twitter. Like, cool. They're spending more time in real life in sessions and working with people than they are blabbering on Twitter. Like I blabber on Twitter. I talk a lot. And so I have a lot of followers, at least in my opinion. But like that doesn't mean much. Like there's people out there with careers that I aspire to get to, and their followers are a fraction, and it doesn't matter. So I say that to say, when you come in, be humble and like accept everyone until you feel like there's no point to, if that makes sense. Like if someone with 200 followers DMs me and they approach me and or whatever, whether it's on Twitter or not, like somebody approaches me, I am not gonna reject that until I have a legitimate reason to, or I don't. Like because I don't know who they are, like, can I add value to them and can they add value to me? Do they have good music? Can we work together? Cool. Then we'll pursue that. So really that just comes down to like, don't burn bridges before you walk over it, is my analogy.
Yeah.
And that right there is going to take you leaps and bounds in your career, 100%. So I think that's one side of maintaining relationships and kind of starting out in the industry. The other side, which still requires you to be humble, is when it comes down to working on legal terms, right? Like if I get a placement and now you're working with their team and everything that you're talking about is money, things get dirty, and they can get dirty really quickly. And people like to be slow, people like to manipulate, people like to this, that, and the other. And when you're first starting out, and this isn't some profound advice, this is just kind of common sense, but a good reminder, like you have to stay humble in those moments and make the decision, like, do you want to risk burning a bridge for potentially a bigger return? And is that return even worth it, right? Prime example, and I'll talk about it, is my Nick Caution placement. So he's pro era, all that, super dope, super New York, has a niche fan base, but undeniably talented. I made a beat, and then a year later it got placed, and me and his engineer, who was also working as his manager and also the person that was handing me agreements, I was talking to him for like 6 months before this record came out. And there was very few sweet moments in that entire process. It was very bitter and money driven. And I'm not taking myself out of this equation. Like, I was also a part of the problem. So I didn't handle it 100% correctly, and he didn't handle it correctly either. And what ended up happening from that is, like, we don't speak anymore. I was threatened with, if you're going to ask for more money or this, that, and the other, I'll guarantee that Nick Caution doesn't get beats from you anymore or something like that. It's like, bro, like, are we 5 years old right now? But you have to deal with people like that. If I had the chance to go back and redo that, and there's more to that story, obviously, but if I had the chance to go back and redo that, I would have probably just tried to be the bigger person, not say anything, accept what they were giving me, sign the paperwork, and be done. Do I think it would have changed the course of my career? No, I don't. But you never know. 3 years down the road, Nick Caution hits me up, and there's a whole new set of doors open that maybe I don't get to experience now, or maybe I do. I don't know. We'll see. So that was a lot of talking, but yeah.
No, it's important, man. That is what you're here for, bro. We're trying to hear from you.
You're right.
Yeah. No, that's all really good insight. It's really good insight, and I appreciate you providing that example, because obviously a lot of people, maybe not a lot, but some people would definitely be shy to share things like that.
Yeah. We can, it's up to you, but we can dive into that or whatever you want to dive into.
Yeah. I mean, hey, if you have more to talk about there, I'm ready to hear it, because it is important to, like, I feel like because people don't want to talk about these messy situations too much, other people that are coming up, producers that don't really know much about the industry or how the legal side might work.
Yeah.
I think they just end up getting left in the dark. And of course, I think experience, obviously the best way to learn is experience, but also just knowing little bits and pieces.
Yeah, but if someone has had the experience, then maybe you can save somebody from not going through it.
Exactly.
I feel you. Well, yeah. I'll add two more things on this. One, when you have a lawyer, don't sit there and like, don't sit back. Because, like, your lawyer is not your guardian angel when it comes to these situations. I had a lawyer during this whole agreement, and she handled everything that I needed her to handle. But I still, at the end of the day, had to make the decisions. And of course, lawyers can suggest and this, that, and the other on your behalf, but you are making the decisions at the end of the day. So there's no one to blame besides yourself and the other party. If they were in that. So keep that in mind when it comes to your lawyers. Also, secondly, read this situation that you're in, so you can respond accordingly. Like, I should have sat back and saw that the dude that I had correspondence with was wearing 4 different hats, and they are the most stressful jobs anyone can have in the industry: engineer, manager, publishing, all that. Like, not a massive budget to work with on top of everything else. And so I should have seen that, probably analyzed that, and then changed how I was going to respond to all of that, because there is, and that's a pretty obvious example, but like there's a slight chance that that's going to go well in any situation, so that's really my two biggest like takeaways from that whole thing is just be aware of how you're going to respond based on the situation that you're in.
That's all very good advice, man. I do appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. And how about, so for people that are looking to travel, because I think once, at least in my case, I've built really good connections online. I've been really blessed with that, and I think I've done a good job. But I definitely came to the realization that eventually, I mean, you can still do a lot online. You can do a lot, but traveling is, and working with people in person, that's really where music takes a different turn.
Yeah.
It gets turned up to a different level.
Yeah.
What would you give, what type of advice would you give for people looking to travel? Especially, it doesn't necessarily have to be LA, but, let's assume the opportunities are in LA. Like they have some potential studio sessions in there and whatnot, but they've never been inside a real studio. Obviously, again, I think experience will determine a lot of that, but what kind of advice could you give to someone that's kind of finding themselves in that situation?
Yeah, this is probably one of my favorite questions, just because I'm such a extremist when it comes to like traveling and not staying stagnant.
Right.
To the point where like I've gotten pissed at my friends because, I can't logically make sense of anyone that wants to stay in one place. Like I can't process it in my head, and I've tried. Trust me, I've tried, but it doesn't make sense to me, because there's so much to explore and so much to do outside of where you were born and raised. It just feels like a waste of life. And that, again, is no hate on my best friends. Love you guys, if you're watching. But I just can't, and they know that. Like I've told them that. It doesn't make sense to me. The one thing that I have come to terms with is like, if they're happy, they're happy, and that really at the end of the day is all that matters. But in my own personal life, it's not what makes me happy. So with that being said, to anyone that does want to travel, or even has a slight thought of doing it, do it. Just say, if you need to save money, save money. And it doesn't need to be in LA either. Like there are a lot of opportunities in LA, but there is a lot happening outside of LA. And it's sad because, I love LA and I love the culture here. I think it's in a bit of turmoil right now. It's, a bit of a shit show going on. So it's understandable that there are more things happening outside of LA, which is good for the person that wants to travel because it's cheaper now.
Right.
Right. If you're in Atlanta, if you're in Florida, if you're in New York, like whatever it is, like just make it happen. Like to me, and I think I might have told this story in our last podcast, but I'll say it again. Like taking the risk of traveling and going to work with other people is going to be benefit. Even if nothing happens right then and there momentarily, it is more valuable to do that than to sit at your house all year, right? I'm not saying you need to go travel every single week, but take a trip somewhere with people that you can work with. And again, prime example, I came out here one time just off a whim with my buddy. We went to a studio session and met the Split Mind team. And then after that left, and we were walking to Chick-fil-A. Missed the turn to get to Chick-fil-A, so they added an extra 5 minutes under our walk. Finally got to Chick-fil-A at like 7 or 8 p.m. I can't even remember. Ordered our food and then sat outside next to the drive-thru. And we were just talking about TikTok, right? Like there was nothing else going on. I wasn't expecting anything to happen besides me eating my Chick-fil-A food. And all of a sudden this janky white Acura pulls up into the drive-thru and overhears our conversation about TikTok. And this dude yells out, he's like, yo, TikTok's the shit. He's like, that's blah, 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 blah. And so me being in LA, I was like, all right, I'm gonna make a move. So I got up immediately and walked over to the car and introduced myself. I was like, yo, I'm Tyler, I'm a producer. This is blah, blah, like, here's my IG. And he gave me his IG back. I was like, bet. So I dapped him up, went and sat back down. was stalking his profile, and I saw a blue check, and I was like, oh shit, that's cool. So I went back and I was like, yo, like I would love to work. I saw that, you know, you're verified and and your music is fire, legitimately. So shout out Baby Jake. Go listen to his music. He's awesome. He makes like psychedelic classic rock, and it's such a vibe.
Dope.
Yeah, it's really, really good.
Dope.
So this was before he was making that though. So, and I was like, yo, I make beats, blah, blah. So that happened. And then he was like, yeah, for sure. Like hit me up, send me beats, all that. So I sat back down, and that night I sent him stuff. The next day he's in Vegas, but he hits me up. He's like, yo, I just tracked something on this beat. What do you think? Fire song, never gonna come out. I cry about it every night, but it's so good. And that one random event that happened in my life triggered a ton of other things to happen, which then led to my first like major placement that almost has 1 million streams now. And obviously people have more streams than that, blah, blah, blah. But for me, for my first like huge production placement, it was the coolest thing ever. And it led to me having relationships with people that I still work with now. And that was like 2 years ago. You know, I sent him that and we had the interaction, and then we kind of chopped it up, and I kept sending beats, and we talked for the entire year until the end of that year when he hit me up and he was like, yo, my buddy is out here. He wants to work with you. I would love to get you guys in the studio. And this point in the story is where it's like people should start taking risks. I had damn near no money, and he needed me out there that weekend, and he thought I lived in LA, but I didn't. I lived on the East Coast. So I told him that, and he was like, oh, don't even worry about it. I was like, no, I am going to worry about it. I'm going to definitely worry about it. And so I was like, I'm going to buy my ticket tonight. I can be out there tomorrow. Totally was not prepared for this. And so that's what I did. I bought my ticket. We got studio time, and I was out there the next day, and I was living with my parents at the time. So I texted my mom, and I was like, yo, by the way, I'm flying to LA today. And she's like, she called me immediately. Like, it was a whole thing.
Yeah.
But
of course.
I had to do it, you know? And it's not the craziest story, but because of that, like that led me to be able to get out there, make one of my favorite records, and maintain relationships with a whole group of guys that are very successful. And to me, I feel like are my peers now in terms of music making capability, you know? So bottom line, take risks. And when you see an opportunity, do not hesitate to do it. Just do it.
Yeah.
Like, why are you going to waste time?
No, I'm with it. I'm with that. And even when you say the story isn't the crazy story, I think that's a perfect story. Like, it's a perfect example of what you're trying to say. And I'm with you, man, 100%. I've learned so much, I should say during my time producing, but definitely in the last year or so. And that's definitely one of the biggest things. Like, as soon as I think I've learned that lesson, or I know what it means to take a risk, I then see someone else take it a different level, and I'm like, no, I could definitely do that. Because when you realize taking a risk isn't, half the time it's not really even a risk. It just, you're stepping outside of your comfort zone. That's really all it is. Yeah,
that's a gem. That's a bar right there. Like, for real, because think like separating the two makes it so much easier to do. It's because usually it really is never taking a risk. Like, one, money comes and goes. I live by that. Obviously, to an extent. Like, have a savings. Like, make sure you can survive. But really, money comes and goes. Like, when I went on this trip, I was cutting it close, like really, really close. But it's not so much, just to piggyback off what you're saying, it's not so much that you're taking a risk. It's literally just the fear of not knowing what you're doing. It's all fear-based. That's all it is. So if you can at least get past that fear and be able to pursue things that you like your gut feeling knows you should pursue, 9 times out of 10, it's going to put you in a better position.
Yeah.
Like, and it really comes down to just that mental game of like, I don't know what's going to happen, but that's okay. And like, that is risk, right? But it simplifies it to a point where you can digest it easier.
Yeah. Yeah, man. No, it's a real thing. And I think especially with, I see this all the time. I mean, this happens all the time. There's really, really, really talented artists or producers or musicians, and because they don't want to take certain risks, or they don't have that, they don't want to take certain risks. I'll just simplify it to that. And then there's a guy who's like maybe half as talented, like half as skilled. He or she is not, they're not really that amazing by any means. They're okay at music,
right,
but they're taking all the risks, or enough risks, which again usually they're not even risks. They're just like having the balls to have a certain conversation with somebody, or just like insert themselves in a certain situation.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, that person that's half as talented is getting these crazy looks, doors, and then during that process they're getting better anyways.
Right.
It happens all the time.
Yes. Oh, I couldn't agree more, man. It's people have this misconception that like they need to get great first before they can make a move. Like, just get great while you're doing it, right? Like, you're always going to be chasing the perfect experience, or the perfect like amount of talent. That's a chase that you're going to be doing till you're dead. So like, you might as well, grow a pair of balls and do it. Like, just do it. And learn while you're at it. Learn from other people. Like, you're gonna learn faster when you're with people than you are by yourself every time, because they're gonna be able to challenge 100%. You. You can question what you're doing, and I'm not sitting here saying it's always the best feeling. Even in my own team, even in Viral, like, I can't tell you something else that's motivated me more, to be honest. But there are people in Viral that will be in the room, and I'm sitting down and I'm watching, and I'm just like feeling convicted on my own work ethic and my own talent. That's like, man, like, they're pumping out this, and I'm seeing them get played. Like, I'm seeing things happening for them in real time, right, because of what they're doing, which I would have never seen by myself. And it doesn't mean you need to be in a collective. Just be in a group with people, go to studios and be active and get social and work with people in your community, because I can't tell you, so we went to the studio, I want to say like 2 Sundays ago, 2 Sundays ago, and we were in there with an artist, and Nick was playing all these beats from the whole team for this artist, and they were like, yeah, I like that one, I like that one, I like that one, boom, 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 boom. And I sent some beats in that I had, and they didn't get picked, and I was like, I sat down and took a breather. I was like, man, it's like I'm really not where I thought I was. And I told Jake and Nick, I was like, yo, I'm gonna dip. I was like, I'm gonna leave. Like, they had it handled, and it was strictly out of like, I'm gonna leave because I legitimately don't think I'm not gonna be able to offer anything here quite yet, because I need to get my beats up. Like, I need to, and that's what I did. I dapped him up, and I was like, I'm gonna head home. I'm gonna go, just work on what I need to work on for the hours that I have left tonight, and just use this time to be more productive. So prime example, like, man, watching other people work in the same room, especially with other artists, will put it into perspective for you what you need to do. 100%.
Bro, and that's the thing. That's huge, man. That's really huge. It was when, like, it's always when you see the people a level ahead of you, or even like some people look at people levels and levels ahead, and all of that all that can work. Like, as long as you look forward and you see what they're doing better, or how they're doing certain things. Like, there's times where I think I've reached, not anymore, but it used to be when I was kind of, I guess, I had less insight on this type of thing.
Right.
But I used to think, okay, no, I know what, like, I know what hard work is.
Right.
All right, cool. And then I see the next guy, and I'm like, never, like, this is just a different level.
I know. And you're like, man, I really have to put that much work in now. And it's
exactly. And
go ahead.
And it's not, and it's not just work. Like, it might be a simple thing, like, oh, I'm really good at this one specific thing, and then you see the guy who's like better than you do it, and you're like, oh, okay, damn, like, that's okay, like, respect, okay.
But
there was a situation. No, go ahead.
I'll be mad quick because I want to hear the story.
No, please. No, I want to hear it.
I do want to touch on the fact that, like, you have to be careful with comparison, for sure. I've seen that a lot on the timeline, and I couldn't agree more with what people are saying, like, in the past 2 days. I walked home from that, or I went home from that studio session to go work on beats and things like that. But, like, that, also keep in mind, like, I know I have my own skill set, and my skill
Right.
set is honed in, it's focused differently in music than it is theirs. So I'm not walking home like defeated or feeling like, oh man, they're just better than me as a person, right? Like, don't compare yourself in that situation, because although what I was looking at was they have this method of working in this specific, situation where it's trap and hip hop, and they just have it down better than I do. But if it was a different situation, I would be completely confident walking in, and it probably wouldn't be the same situation. So I say that to say, regardless of what, session you're in or group of people you're with, like, don't compare everything that you are to the one thing that you're looking at, because that won't do anything but hurt you. So
No, of course. Yeah, no. See, the way that I see it, and you're 100% right. That is definitely something we should address. For me, I get motivated by so many little things like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it could be something as simple. Well, yeah, you know what? Let me make the distinction. Sometimes I'll see someone that's doing a certain thing. Let's say, again, I'll just specify it to music, and they're amazing at it, and I'm just sitting there in awe, and it's like, okay, one of two things happens. Either I tell myself, like, and I see it and I get inspired and like, okay, I want to get to that level. Or it's a certain skill set that they have or a certain niche that they're in right now, and I'm like, I could if I wanted to, but I'm not going to work on that just because it's not really my specialty and I have no interest in it.
100%,
so it's like,
yes.
I'm going to let them do what they're doing and I respect it, but I'm going to, work on my own thing.
Right. Oh yeah, man. Like, everyone's got their shine, right? Like at Sanctuary Sessions,
exactly.
there's this guy's name's Tino, Uncle Tino. He's my boy.
Right.
And he's
Uncle Tino, that's a fire name.
Yeah, he's dope. And he is ridiculous with the talk box. Like, it's outrageous. Like, I've never seen anyone use it in person successfully, and he was killing it all week. And there was never a time where I was like, oh damn, like, what am I doing here? Like, nah, like, I just objectively know, like, he is killer with that. And that does come with music theory and a set of experiences that me and him both share, or a set of skills that me and him both share. But like, his niche is that, and it was so good. But there wasn't never a time that I was like, man, like, I got to go learn the talk box now, or I'm never going to be that good.
Yeah.
It's like, just to piggyback off what you said, absolutely. Like, you have your own strengths. So just, make the distinction when you're in that situation, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, for me, I mean, it's so depends on the situation. Like, it's not always necessarily the skills, or like, it might really just be, I think anyone, if they worked hard enough, again, to a reasonable extent, like if they worked hard enough, they could get good enough or really good at something.
Yeah.
But for me, it's really just a matter of, do I really want to spend like all those hours getting great at this one thing when, I pick and choose now. But you did bring up an amazing point. And, with sitting there, you were in that session, you realized, you kind of realized what was happening. And so you just you took it upon yourself to go home and work on what you wanted to work on, what you felt you needed to work on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's huge. Like, there's a situation where I don't know how much I can really, I was talking to an industry producer. You might even know who this is. It doesn't really matter too much, but the actual, like, what he does during sessions, when he described it to me, like, the artist will be recording their song or whatever, and then this producer will be sitting there with, not even, and I don't get the details of this really, because I don't know why he wouldn't have headphones on, but let's say he doesn't have headphones or whatever, but he's trying to make a beat for the artist. He will make a beat without hearing the beat. Like, he'll just kind of see, like, he'll melodyne it, you know what I'm saying, or whatever, find the key, and then he'll understand what sounds he has to use that he usually uses or whatever, and he'll kind of come up with a really quick, like, rough, I shouldn't say rough, maybe it is the final thing, but a damn good enough beat.
That is
without hearing it.
Fruity Loop shit I've ever heard in my entire life.
Oh, 100%.
That is 100%. Only doable on Fruity Loops.
No, 100%. It is, yes.
Like,
and
that motherfucker, without a doubt.
Yeah, man.
You could have your laptop on mute, and if you've done it long enough, you just know where everything needs to go. 1,000%.
Facts.
It's really cool.
Facts.
For sure.
Man, it's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. And like, and it's not just, maybe I'd try that shit if it was, and at this point, maybe, or rather at the point that he told me, maybe I would have tried that with an artist I'm working with that's like, local, not as big. I'm trying to work with him. Or okay, maybe I'd try some shit like that there. But
Right.
he's doing this in sessions with like huge artists, like, ones that I know don't play around or bullshit. And he's just sitting there, making beats without even listening, like sending them through quick things.
I don't know about all that one.
So I don't know. It was,
that's,
yeah.
That's his pocket for sure.
No, it is crazy. But even, but that's the thing. So even that alone, it's like, bruh, if he can pump out these beats without even listening to them, and he's in these sessions, and they're turning out nice, like, I can do the extra, whatever, goal you want to reach. It's like, it makes it a little more, you can do whatever, you're set out to achieve, whether it's make this many beats a day or try that genre or whatever. It's like, these guys out here doing crazy things.
Yeah, I mean,
there's producers now that are doing crazy things.
Yeah, like inexplicable things. Like, and someone,
exactly, yeah.
Somebody that, and they're like 4 years old. They're all infants, toddlers, just like, yo, I'm 90 times platinum. I gotta go to daycare, but I'm hanging out with Rod Wave before I go to daycare.
Yeah, it's crazy, bro.
So, like, I don't get it, and I'm 25, and I'm like, take me to the retirement home so I can work on Audacity. Like, dude, I feel so old in this industry. Gosh, but somebody that can make beats without listening is, without a doubt, he has spent so much time in an FL Studio, like an impressive amount of time, to know legitimately, like, okay, I visually know how everything is supposed to look to make a hard ass beat, and he can do it and repeat that process. Like, that is impressive. So that just shows, like, he lives in an FL Studio. Like, there's no other way.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. No, it's true, man. It's true. I gotta ask you about, and you said his name was hxrV. Is Harvey? Like, is that
or
the guy in Viral? Is that how you pronounce hxrV? Okay, I've always been pronouncing it hxrV, and I thought I heard you say hxrV, and I was like,
no, I'm pretty sure I'm wrong on that one. Sorry, Harv. Love you, buddy.
I was gonna say, maybe I misheard you. So, anyways,
Harv might be wrong too, dude. I don't know.
Bro, he's in your group. You're the one guy I needed to ask.
I was
like
calling I was calling Macro Marco until like last week. So
wait,
it's pretty bad.
Macro who?
Macro Made It, I think is his name.
Oh, Macro Made It. I thought you. Okay.
What?
That makes because there's a Marco Luca, right? Not in Viral, but just someone that Nick.
Oh yeah. Nick. Yeah. Marco Luca, stupid talented.
Okay.
Yeah, he's from North Carolina.
I just want to.
He's
right. That's what artist. I thought. When you said Macro, I thought I was pronouncing his name wrong too. No, I haven't looked too much into Macro. I haven't dug into his stuff, but I'm sure he's great.
Yeah,
you guys, again,
cool
your team is amazing. Like, Harv alone, like, I don't remember when we connected, but such a nice guy, man. Such a great guy.
Yeah.
Very talented, works hard, all the great things.
That's an understatement. That man, and we joke with him all the time, but that man makes more loops in a single day than I have made, I think, in my entire life.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. I don't know how he does it.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I believe that, actually. I do remember especially when I first started working with him, when I saw his work ethic and really seeing, not only, again, it's really impressive when they make not only a ton of loops, but the quality of course, music is subjective, but man, like, some of the quality that guys like Harv
can
are putting out
yeah,
consistently, it's insane.
Yeah, it's ridiculous right now.
Yeah.
So,
are you someone that's making a ton of melodies, or are you kind of, what's your process look like when you're making a beat?
Well, I'm so glad you asked, man. Because we got some news on that. So in terms of beat making, I don't do that as much as I used to. I mean, I'm getting back into it now. I have a few artists that I'm working with to like produce out some records and things like that. But the main thing I'm doing, that I have been doing since I moved here, is me and Nick actually have kind of started this little duo, which
Right.
I'm not going to give the name out yet because I don't know if we have officially agreed on it. I can't remember. I think we did, but well, we'll figure it out when we get there. But me and him have been super inspired by Frank Dukes, or Ging, as he's called now.
Right.
Q Beats, John Bellion, like just these crazy music makers. And we've really gotten into it in the past like month or so. And so we've kind of almost not really intentionally created a duo where like our chemistry in terms of making music is really, really cool. It's hard to find that. So most of my time is filled with spending a lot of time on one loop, and honestly, we'll probably end up making like 2 to 3 loops max for the whole day. But to me, without a doubt, they are some of the best loops I have ever made, and we just keep leveling up. So my process right now is very collaborative. It's hardly by myself at all in terms of sample making and things like that. It really involves a lot of work between me and Nick when we make our loops.
Interesting. No, that's really cool, man. Yeah, that is really cool. And Nick is crazy with loops too. Like, yeah, no, it's good to hear.
Bro's got his strengths in it, man. And I think that's what works out for us is we I think we work well. He never heard this phrase, but it's a good ebb and flow between his strengths and my strengths, and they kind of fill the holes that aren't there.
Perfect.
You know, which is really cool. So we're kind of getting to the point where we're just like nodding at each other, and like that's all we need to do to communicate when it comes to like if we like something or don't like something in the loop. So
that's really dope, man. That's good. All right, tell me about Blender, man, because I used to work on VFX. Like before music, I still have a lot of interest in it, but visual effects, special effects, and filmmaking, I was super, super interested in, like super invested in. I used to make short films, like all kinds of stuff.
Bro, send me your short 3D films.
Bro, I got you. I got you.
Let me see.
I got you. They're a little old because I was pretty young, but you know what? I'm gonna send them. I got some interesting stuff.
That was fire.
But yeah, man. So one of the things that was always kind of coming up, especially with visual effects like Blender or, well, 3D software, Blender would come up because obviously it's free, and it's easier to use arguably than some of the other more advanced ones. But anyways, like what I'm trying to ask is where did this interest in Blender start, or 3D animation rather, and just tell me about it. I just kind of want to hear. I know it's fairly new, at least that you've been introducing it to the world.
It's like it's still an egg. Like I haven't even hatched the potential of how much I actually like. I don't even know, to be honest with you, and I really have no clue where it came from. I think I've always had a want to create. Well, no. Okay, I'll say this. I've always had a want just to create, like in general. Right. And when I was a kid, I used to do the same thing, and they weren't like short films, but like I asked for a camera, like a handheld camcorder when I was a kid, back when I lived in Utah, because I just wanted to like film. I just wanted to like pretend I was a movie maker. Like I really loved the idea of it. And I remember this one time it was blizzarding outside, and I shit you not, me and my friends from the neighborhood all gathered in my house, and we had blank pieces of paper on in the dining room, and we drafted everything, like storyboarded the whole thing. And it was going to be this like World War II like war movie, and we were going to film it in my neighborhood.
I love it.
And it was so shit. It was so bad, but like during the filming of it, man, it was such a blast. Like I was just so encapsulated with the idea of like just making films. So I completely resonate with you on that. So that I just think I've always wanted to be creative since I was a kid, and this is just another outlet to do it. I specifically I really love the idea of being able to just, you can create anything in 3D software, and that is the wildest concept I can think of. Like I promise you, that is one of the craziest ideas ever. I can open up a software on my computer and just build anything. You know what I mean? And I can make a short film in Blender. And look, there's YouTube videos of like hour-long films that are completely animated, and they are insane. Like they're literally they're thrilling and like fun to watch, and they capture your interest, and it's so cool. And so I don't know. I think that's such a cool idea, and I wanted to be able to do it. So now I'm doing it.
Yeah, man. No, I love that you're doing it, especially because you're actually really doing it. Like first of all, I think you created an album art for somebody recently, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, my roommate AQ.
Yeah, it looked cool. No, and that's the thing. It looked good. Like all this stuff, it looks really good. The lighting and everything, which is so obviously really important. The textures, everything, it looks really nice.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So seeing how far you've come already with such a short span of time, like I'm very interested to see where you take it, because clearly it's working out well so far.
Yeah. That was kind of like, I kind of sat back and realized that too. And, wasn't me like putting myself on a pedestal or anything, but like I made the first couple of things, and they are like, I am not ashamed to say it was all tutorial. Like the first like 3 projects I made was all tutorial. You said Blender's the easiest one to learn out of them. Blender is so hard to understand. I wouldn't even dare go into the other ones. But I do get what you're saying. Like it is certainly the most user friendly, I would imagine. But I don't know. I started getting the hang of it really quickly, and I made that donut, and like obviously that's like, once you make your donut, you're an official Blender user, 3D artist. Yeah. And I felt really confident about it. And so I don't know, like it was just one of those things where I was like, wow, I actually think I'm capable of being able to like expand this really, really far, just depending on how much time I put into it. And so, yeah, I don't know. To me, it's very much just a passion thing. Like it's just something aside from music that I can do, that I love doing, that I'm not being pressed about every single day, Oh, here's a deadline. Yeah. Here's that. Like this, it's like a genuine hobby again. Music was that for me for a very long time, and then I turned it into a career, and we all know that has its ups and downs.
Right.
So I needed something else, and this just kind of popped up as a substitute for that.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good point, man. Yeah, I think with me, same thing where I didn't realize it fully what was happening until quite recently, where I realized, I need that, at least one thing, but usually it's multiple things. But it would always happen where I'd get super into the music, and then I wouldn't call it burnout, but I'd eventually start looking at other creative or certain outlets that I just needed to explore. And then I've started to realize that, no, I actually need to make sure I keep that in check and actually keep that in mind rather than have it happen spontaneously all the time.
Right.
So I have a couple of my own things going on too, which I'm excited about, but it's cool to hear other people. I've seen it a lot recently. I've seen it through you. I see a lot of people, bigger producers tweeting about it. And I'm going to switch gears again, because I want to ask about this. What's the deal with BigheadOnTheBeat? I know Viral is in some form of a collaboration with him and what he's doing, right?
Yeah. So the Viral Collective is partnered with BigheadOnTheBeat music group. That is acting as a whole label, essentially, or their own collective. We just formed a partnership together that allows us to work together on music, and we can benefit each other in different ways in terms of, essentially it takes the ceiling for both of us and kind of expands it super, super far.
Sweet. So that's really dope.
Yeah. And that has been in the works forever, man. So we're really getting to like see the ball roll a lot more this year. And then I think coming into 2022, it'll be a lot more public on what we're doing with them and how we're kind of like working together. So, yeah.
Is there any other hobbies, would you say, or maybe not even hobbies is the right word, maybe any interests, just to get to know Tyler, bro? Like, what other kind of things are you up to? And if not, that's okay, because I know you're really busy, and maybe it really is just music, Blender, But what?
Uh,
I didn't mean to make that sound like overly simplified and make you sound like just but
no, you're not over. That's literally that's my life. It is down to like three things. It's just music, blender, and my friends. That's pretty much what it comes down to.
Cool.
Other hobbies, not necessarily other hobbies, but my lifestyle, I'm a homebody, man. Like at the end of the day, I like being inside. Well, let me redact that statement.
All right, redacted.
Yeah, appreciate it. I like how do I want to say this? I like having closeness in my life, right? Like not too like I have my group of friends here. I got like 4 friends here that I love them. They're my homies, like, and those are the people that I want to stick with. I got my friends in Maryland. I have my music and all that. I like to be active and be outdoors 100%. That doesn't happen as much as I'd like it to happen, but yeah, my lifestyle is simple, man. Like it comes down to friends, music, my side hobbies, and then church on Sundays, and that's it. And then whenever I can, I travel, but that's in its own group. Like, yeah. So really, in my ideal life, I would be traveling as much as I possibly can, for sure.
Cool.
Whether that involves music or not, it doesn't really, matter to
Understood.
me. As long as I can travel, like that would be, man, I would love that. That's kind of what I'm reaching for. There's a lot of things that I want to accomplish with my music and my career, but being able to just travel when I want with no restriction, man, that sounds like a good life to me.
Yeah. Gotta ask you this one thing. Are you really a genius?
I have to take my jacket off for this one.
Right, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, get comfortable.
Oh no,
Oh, you want to? Oh, okay. See, right now it's too blurry from my perspective, but it will be 1080p when I upload it. So you're gonna have to tell me what that says.
Rest assured, it says genius. So
genius. Okay, so you are a genius.
I'm a self-proclaimed genius, which is extremely cocky to most people. But it has a deeper meaning to it than me just being like, yeah, I'm a genius. Like the reason why I have it and the reason why it's my name. The reason why it's my name is just purely based out of irony, because at one point in my life, I tweeted out whether I should keep my old name or switch it to Tyler Genius, and no one picked Tyler Genius, so I was like, that's my name now. So,
right.
Yeah. But I also have it because in my head, like, I have to live up to that to an extent now.
Yeah.
And I love that challenge. Like, that is just never going away. It's tattooed on me, I mean, I am a dumbass down to the core, and I'm okay with that. I'm proud of who I am, and that's just what it is. I'm clumsy, right. I'm goofy, I make corny jokes. Like, that's just me, and that's okay. But like, I still have it down to like my craft and my passion and my skills. Like, if I can show out and show up for myself, that like I can outperform what I've done last week, I can outperform what I did yesterday, and I can always just increase my skill. Like, to me, that's being a genius. Like, always being able to improve what you're doing and be the best at what you want to be. So, cliche, right. Maybe. Do I love it? Yes. And does a tattoo go hard as fuck? Yes, it does. So,
when you talk about goals, like what are some of your biggest goals, or maybe just one goal? Like, what's one of your biggest goals? I know you said travel is really important to you, like in terms of a sort of a goal, mm-hmm. But what else? Let's say musically, give us a goal or two that you have that you're trying to aspire to reach to.
Musically,
or anything. It doesn't have to be musically.
Well, I'll say I'll kind of touch on two things here. Sure. When I first started making music, my goal was to be the biggest producer there ever was, and be successful and have the fame and the notoriety that comes with like getting massive placements. Like, I want to be the next TM88 or Zaytoven or whatever. That has died down for me tremendously, and not necessarily in a bad way. It's exhausting. It is exhausting trying to chase. It's just, so tiring. And again, I don't think that's a bad thing, because it doesn't take away from my drive to want to be successful in music, because I do want to have a legacy and I want to be able to retire off music. But like, that's my goal now, is like, I want to just be able to retire off of it and live off of it. And if that happens to be that I get a Beyonce placement or a Drake placement or insert A-list name here placement, fire. I will without a doubt hang that plaque in my house and cherish it, you know? But it's not, I've kind of broadened my idea of like what I want my success to look like. And it doesn't just have to be sacrifice everything and just go for the biggest placements. So that's kind of my headspace when it comes to my music goals. My main life goal, honestly, is it's very family oriented. And actually, just the other day, I was talking to my cousin, who I don't get to talk to very often, and that just kind of comes down to like family dynamic. Our family, in terms of communication, our family, like my immediate family, we speak, but there's just been so much shit in my family that's just caused like a lot of lack of communication with everyone. So that's just something that I struggle with and that I deal with. But it's also kind of fueled this passion of mine to want to see my generation of my family. So like my cousins, me, my sister, my other sister, my brother. Like, I just want to see us be outrageously, disgustingly successful. Like, and I want to be able to, whether I'm the one to do it or someone else is the one to do it, like, I just want to be able to see everyone come up. And I was on the phone with my cousin the other day. He had texted me. He's like, hey, like, if there's anything I can do business related for you, like, let me know. Like, if that means I need to intern, or if you have admin work that you need, like, let me know. I really want to get out of where I'm at right now and just explore something new. And that hit me because I know my cousin's living situation and it's not pretty. And it just like convicted me, man, because I hadn't spoken to him in a long time. And I just want nothing more than to be able to see all my family like make it and be at peace and like not have to struggle with stupid shit that they're struggling with, because like it just doesn't need to happen. So that is my biggest goal, I would say, when it comes to everything I'm doing in life. Like, I want to die knowing like, hell yeah, like my kids are going to be okay. My cousin's kids are going to be okay. Sister's kids are, you know, and just be like the first line of family members that have actually created financial stability that can trickle down generations, you know? So
yeah. All right, well, I appreciate your time, bro.
Yeah, of course.
I'm sure we're gonna talk again. I mean, if you're down for it, wait some time, we'll see what happens. Right. But I just love talking to you, bro. It's always a good time. You always have really good insight. And obviously I know your career's gonna keep propelling forward, and over time we'll have more to talk about.